what do men really want in a relationship? What are they really looking for? And I think it's this idea of you can fully express yourself, that person you've always wanted to be, and know that she doesn't move away as you do that. She had a date with a guy on a Saturday, and the guy wanted to keep hanging out like past 5 o'clock, and she like shut it down. And apparently he was like, why don't you want to like keep hanging out? What are you doing tonight? Oh, you have another date, don't you? And she's like the best friend knew that she was on a first date, saw that she was at a graveyard on Find My Friends. And so then showed up to the restaurant and got a table and like then eavesdropped on our conversation.
Welcome to the Match Artist Podcast. Today we have Jake, and I shot photos of him on April 13th, 2022. And we've kept in touch a little bit since then. And, we'll get to a lot more of kind of his story and our connection throughout the podcast. But yeah, welcome, Jake.
What's going on?
How's your day going? What have you been up to?
Today, worked on a lot of flight stuff.
Yeah.
Just getting organized for some more advanced training. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working on making a transition to be flying more. It's just been a huge hobby of mine. And yeah, so doing a lot of that today.
Were you flying before we met? Because I recall it on your questionnaire, something about flying airplanes.
I had just started. Yeah. I had done maybe 5 hours of flight time at that point in time, but I hadn't started taking flying seriously until I guess this past fall.
Sure.
Yeah. That's when I really hit the ground running and said, all right, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna get my license.
What was the initial part where you were like, you've always loved planes kind of thing? Or like, what was what got you into it?
It's hard to say. It's always been with me. I just remember going to air shows as a kid, always looking at the airplanes, always looking up. And I think just the idea of being able to explore, being able to travel, being able to see what's possible is really the precipice for aviation. Some people in aviation like the mechanical side, the aerodynamics, what about this, what about that, which I think is neat. But for me, it's the exploration, the travel, seeing things from a different perspective. And that's just built forever.
Yeah. So what was your first solo flight? When was that? Tell me about it.
Oh, man. I actually, I remember my very first solo flight was in Taylor. And at the very beginning, your instructor just teaches you how to safely land the plane and make the decision when to land versus when to do a go around. So things like having a massive understanding of weather, you know just a little bit. Knowing things like detailed regulations about if the aircraft is operational or not, or what items you need to have, was not something that I was fully aware of. And so I'm getting ready. I know it's going to be my day to solo. I drive all the way out there to Taylor. It's about at least 30-40 minute drive from my house to get to the airport. We're doing everything. And then I realize I had not printed out my student certificate. And I look at my instructor and was like, well, I'm just going to go up right here. Why can't you just let me go? And he's like, no, it's not legal. You can't do it. And so I had to drive back home. He stayed at the airport and read his book. And I like tried to go as fast as I could. I think it saved me 2 minutes. Drove all the way home thinking about it. Like, I can't miss this opportunity. I can't miss this opportunity. Because of weather and scheduling, we got to fly maybe once a week at this stage of my flight time. So I just remember being exhausted, flying to and from the airport. And then finally, an hour after sitting in traffic, fighting traffic, I had my actual piece of paper that said I'm a registered student. And then he let me go fly. And at that point, I was sort of nervous, but something kicks in once you take off and you realize it's on me. Like, I just got to land the plane. But you've done it so many times. Your instructor knows you're good to go.
And he's watching, or he's like tracking kind of on the first flight?
I guess I should be clear that the first time ever, it's purely a instructor just says, go take the plane up and down real quick. And so when you're flying in a small general aviation situation at smaller airports, you fly something called a traffic pattern, which is basically just a rectangle where half of the rectangle is the runway and the other half is just 1,000 feet off the ground. And so you just fly this rectangular pattern and you come around to land. So you just go up, take a left, go down for like 2 minutes to the other side of the runway, take a left, and now you're lined up to come land. You land the plane.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like each lap in the pattern is 5 or 6 minutes, maybe at most.
Yeah, I've flown with a few friends, including my co-founder. He'll appreciate this
Sure.
part because he has his license and he used to have a plane share, and we'd go up, and I obviously don't know all the controls or understand everything, but just the ability to be able to steer within the sky, and just the experience of, as we were approaching to land, he was like, "You land the plane." I'm not landing the plane, but I'm steering it in the direction of the runway, and I just remember how, to me, it being the first time, how scary it was, because it's like, how am I gonna land on such a small strip down there? Because it looks so small from the air that first time, and it's like, it's way more in my mind, it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be, and he's taking care of all the flaps and the other things that I don't fully understand,
Sure.
but it was so much fun. We're gonna have to go up soon.
Yeah, we need to take you up. I got to build some hours too. So
Okay.
yeah, be happy to take you up.
Well, yeah, let's go back then. Maybe give a little backstory of, I mean, I guess who you are in general. What were you doing before we met, and kind of leading up to us doing our photo shoot.
Sure. I guess in my 20s, I was really, still am, but at the time was quite career focused. And because of that, I didn't really take dating. I didn't put a ton of effort into dating in my earlier 20s. And I guess by 22, I was 28, almost 29 years old at the time. And so I started to realize, like, oh, my friends were married. I should probably start thinking about this, but I didn't have a ton of experience because again, I guess given the backstory, I was just so career focused. And I had some like short-term relationships. I had some like, hey, I got a friend. You should probably see if y'all are interested. That happened 3 times or whatever, 4 times maybe in my early 20s, but I just was so focused on career that I hadn't really taken dating too seriously. I was in the finance world that took up, 50, 60 hours a week.
And when did you start the finance side of things? Was that like you went to school for it and then you started your own thing, or?
Yeah, I had an internship in 2014, and then 2015 I went full time, and been doing it ever since. And it was just like hit the ground running, find your own clients kind of a situation.
Sure. Yeah, it's being a business owner.
It is. It is. And it's hard. I've heard people say, you can either spend your 20s on either making money or making memories. Like it's hard to do both. And I'm still chewing on this idea, but this idea of it's really hard to either be really career successful, like make a lot of progress in your career, and also make a lot of progress in like traveling the world, dating a bunch of people, because both of them can take up so much time. And so I was definitely more career focused early on. Not to say I didn't travel, not to say I didn't have some friends, but it just all kind of culminated in me maybe not dating as much as maybe I wish I would have out the gate. And so that's when like I wanted to take things really seriously.
Yeah. So what was the dating like, that did happen during that time where you were like very career focused?
Oh, it was just like in passing, like happen to know someone. "Ah, I guess I should go out with them,
Yeah.
you know? And eventually I tried the apps, but I had no photos,
Yeah.
which I guess is like a clear and like kind of segue to your help. But like it was a little discouraging. It felt like such an uphill battle.
Which apps were you using?
Oh, I'd given them all a try at a time. I think in my dating time, like Hinge and Bumble were my favorite. But I tried them all. I think I even tried, what's the OG that was on the internet, like back.
Okay, Cupid. Plenty of fish.
Yeah. Or Match.
Sure. Yeah.
I think I made an account on Match.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a great option for certain people, especially like if you're a little bit older, and it's like guaranteed that people using it will probably be taking dating a little bit more seriously than like kind of flip-flopping or ghosting that you might see on Tinder, for
Sure.
example.
Yeah.
So you're focusing on the career, and then you decided, was there like a moment where you're like, I need to take this seriously, like I have enough of the success that I wanted from career, or what was like the switch there?
I think it was gradual. I never seem to be the person that's like nothing, 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 and then boom, I do something, but more of a it's like this idea that lingers in the back of my mind for a long time, and then finally I'm like, just the idea if I need to do something about it is so overwhelming that I do something about it. Um, I don't know if that really clearly answers, like, the
No,
question, but
I wish I was more of that way. I'm not a let it linger in my mind. It's like when I think of something, I'm like, I'm gonna do it, you know? And that's like good and bad for me.
yeah. I think there's just this nagging for me for so long too. I definitely had an insecurity for a while because a lot of my friends had their, we used to joke that they were their exit buddy out of college. So they would get married like a year after college. And some of my best friends at the time and my work community was all that way. And then it was like me. And so that was something that like definitely I felt a little insecure about for a while of like, I should be married. I should, should have been having a family by now and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Though I will say, looking in hindsight, like I'm glad I got to know myself the way I know
Yeah.
myself now. But that was some of the precipice at the time.
Yeah. I feel like I had periods of time where it was like really lots of work and then trying to do, less work and lots of dating, but like I did a pretty even split to where whatever businesses I was working on or like the money side, career side of things, when I was working on that, then the dating suffered. When I was working on dating, then the business side suffered because it's like you can only do a few things well, at one time in life, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably some old sage wisdom somewhere.
Yeah, I heard it from a friend that um, met him early on in Austin, and he was doing really well in his business. And I was just like, "How do you do all these things in life?" He was like dating and doing business, and he's like, he's this Italian guy. And he's like, I'm not going to try to do the accent, but he's like, you can only do three things, And I really took that to heart, and I still think about that because I'm the type to lots of hobbies and new interests and it's like, what are my 3 things that I'm focusing on?
Yeah,
And that's in order to do it well, I guess.
certainly. Certainly.
That's interesting too that you talk about the insecurity related to other friends that are dating or married or have starting a family because I think that's a good thing to be thinking about, but I never really had that sort of a thought. It was more out of like, I feel lonely and I feel like I wanna have a life partner, and that's my motivation to date more intentionally, and I didn't feel as much of the, friends around me that were yeah, especially with clients, a lot of clients getting in relationships, I didn't feel that same sort of, like, insecurity. It was more out of loneliness.
And as you say, I definitely had a sense of loneliness as I watched my friends have their marriages early on because it felt like I never had a buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I never had someone that just wanted to like, "You got nothing to do?" "Yeah, I got nothing to do." "You wanna go hang? You wanna go do something?" Like, I didn't have that, like, person. Like, I had guy friends, of course, that would, like, serve that need, but I didn't have it in the romantic way that I knew I longed for. So, yeah, there was, of course, an element of loneliness, and I think it was really heightened. There was a spotlight on it because of all of the people in my community that were married at 22, 23 years old.
Yeah. So what did you see about some of those relationships or what they had that you're like, what aspects were like, I want that?
I think early on, it was just somebody to hang out with, you know? Like, I just wanted someone to watch Friends with, at night and to commiserate over, the crappiness of early work life. Of course, there's, like, romantic interest in having fun and exploring new places, but, yeah, just going home to an empty home, I think, an empty apartment, that was something that I missed out on, and then also feeling like I was the odd man out at events
Mhm.
was something that really aided me. This is, like, in my early 20s, right? And I
And you're how old now?
I'll be 32 in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, hard to say. I'm an old man.
Yeah, I'm
Apparently, I have some
32.
grays in my hair now. She was telling me.
Oh, that's the goal for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want gray as soon as possible. Gray here anyway.
Sure, sure. I think as I got older, it started to turn into this feeling of wanting to be known, wanting to be understood, to not feel, I guess, invisible would maybe be a way you could say it. because when you feel seen, there's this element of feeling like your real authentic self, you know? When someone else gets you, there's like this, like, to me, there's this cherry on top of, all right, like I really am who I think I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it really started to evolve in once I got, yeah, 29, 30, 31 years old.
I've heard that from, yeah, the past 2 podcasts where it's like the way you are. I like the way you're articulating with, like, being seen, but, it's really just the support that I think men need. It's like you don't need somebody to, like, complete you or fulfill you, but in order for you, like us as men, to reach our potential, it's like there's that buddy, that you talk about that can kind of complete that and give you see you and give you the support you need. And I know I just said that you don't need it, but yeah, I think you know where I'm
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, the analogy I think of all the time is, and I wish I could draw this. My now girlfriend is a therapist. And so we have some interesting dialogues, which has been helpful. Yeah. And I always explain to her when she asks, like, what do men really want in a relationship? What are they really looking for? And I think it's this idea of you can fully express yourself, be that person you've always wanted to be, and know that she doesn't move away as you do that. To have that full faith that, like, you can be upset, you can have a bad day, but you can also be hype about something. You can also be, like, just so stoked that your team just won the championship and she's, like, still next to you, still sees you as you really are. Finding someone like that is like I think it's a huge treasure.
Yeah. That was, what I remember back in, we'll get to this in terms of your story, but when we did my wife and I, when we did your couples session, I just remember back to, and I mean this as a complete compliment. I mean this as a complete compliment. You guys, you're weird together. I remember, I don't even remember a specific instance, but it's like you would be goofy around her in a way that I hadn't seen from you before. And that's like, I almost see that that's who you are at home when you're with your cats, like when you're, and it's like I found that too with my marriage, that I'm just absolutely ridiculous. It's like even things, yeah, things that I wouldn't do around anybody else in terms of just strangeness or, singing or, yelling throughout the house or, just like the things that you find that one person that, doesn't leave when you do that.
Certainly. It's almost this new, it kind of gives, as we talk about this, a new tone of political correctness. What is the right way to describe different people groups today? Or what's the right way to, when am I allowed to use a curse word and when am I not allowed to use a curse word in
Mhm.
public? But we don't talk about, also, there's an element of not being like silly or goofy, or like you have to have your manners on in public, and to go home and be with someone where you can let go of that filter,
Mhm.
right? Let go of that general political correctness that you might have, and just have trust and just be. It's nice. It's great. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. It's like that I could say just about anything as long as it's not directed at my wife, and it will be, maybe not always praised, but accepted, the political correctness side of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you're at a spot where you're gonna start prioritizing dating more than the career, like you had been doing during your 20s, and you realize things aren't going as well as you'd like to on online dating, right?
Oh yeah.
Some matches?
So much freaking work. Yeah, I got a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm, like, just okay looking.
Are we all?
Yeah.
Actually, I saved your before photo. Um, any of you guys that end up working with us, we have a thorough questionnaire that you fill out that helps us get to understand you as much as we possibly can. And yeah, there's your before photo.
I remember that.
It's a fun photo,
It is.
but Who took the photo?
Someone was at the CrossFit gym and just, like, snapped it.
And that was that your main photo that you were using?
No, I had another one where I was like, I had this really big smile. It was holding a beer. I don't know to describe it. Yeah. Uh, so that was one of them, and I had another one. But that one I always thought was one of the more professional photos
Yeah,
that I'd had. Yeah.
definitely better than some that I've seen. Where the down angle
I
selfie.
tried. I remember one time I, like, went next to my window once. I was like, "I gotta get better photos. I gotta get better photos." So I found out about diffused lighting, and I went next to my a window in my house, and I just sat here and it was like, ching, 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 ching. Like, I went and, like, took as many angles as I could, and then I uploaded some of them to, like, the photo rating website.
Yeah.
What's it
Photo
called?
feeler? Photo feeler?
Yeah, Photo
Yeah.
Feeler. Yeah, I got some pretty pretty piss poor answers, and that's probably about that time was when I said, "All right, I'm gonna call these people called the match artists. See what they really know."
On that diffused light thing though, that's, the photographer that I don't know him personally, I just took some of his courses. When he was doing headshots, when he first started, he just had an apartment and couldn't afford all these lights that, we used in, like, the early days of our sessions, and he would just he talks about just parking his butt right up against the window and, shooting people, um, that way. And it does come down to the expressions that you're using.
Sure. Yeah,
But that's how we got started.
that's awesome.
But yeah, so you hit up the match artist, and I guess those are probably still the days that you talked to me. Is that the initial call, or was it somebody else at the time?
Shoot. I feel like my memory's going.
Yeah, bring it all back.
I don't think so. I remember feeling surprised, positively surprised to find out that apparently I get to shoot with the founder. Yeah, or something.
It still works, by the way.
Who still works, yeah.
Or it's still like I'm still baffled. Like one of my photographers told me, like, "Oh, you know the founder?" I'm like, I'm friends with all my employees, all the photographers. It's not that crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's, that
This isn't Walmart.
yeah,
Yeah. It's not like, "You know Tim Cook?" Yeah. Not yet, at least.
not yet.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was somebody else, and yeah, they told me I was gonna shoot with you.
Yeah.
I just remember, like, you came over and immediately were, like, making it fun and interesting and just hanging out, like, right out the gate. Within the first 5 or 6 minutes, it's like, "Okay, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be great. Yeah, this will work great."
You're a little skeptical before,
I don't think I was skeptical of, uh, who you were gonna be per se, as much as yeah, it's like a self-expression thing on my end, like, how much trial and error am I gonna have to express myself? And, I hear stories of some people saying they do a photo shoot, and it's like, "Alright, you get, like, 20 minutes,
yeah.
like, roll it in real quick, and I'm out of here," kinda situation, and when I realized it was gonna be a long, drawn out, um, more of a hangout where we get to know each other and you can capture things in real life, that's when I started to realize that it was like, I was like, "All right, this is gonna be a good time." And you brought in the huge boombox. It was like, "All right, we're gonna do some jams. We're gonna get after this."
I mean, you put John Mayer on your, questionnaire, which is one of my favorite artists of all time, one of the best guitarists out there, as you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as I've tried to mimic and failed massively. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like all the John Mayer fans that play acoustic guitar, they know a number of his songs, but to like, a 5 to 10% level. If you're really good, you can maybe get to like 15, 20%.
exactly. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, when I'm trying to look back, it's like I was doing a bunch of shoots at the time, and so it's like, you connect with the people that you connect with, but trying to remember back outside of looking at the photos, I know we shot at your place, played some guitar. We did get another one of those, exercise. I knew you really wanted a revamped version of that.
Yeah, I realized now one of your photos is still used all the time in my professional, someone gets a text that'll say, "You wanna add this contact or update the contact ID," or whatever, it's your photo is in there
Oh,
for it.
great.
So, yeah, I use it all the time.
That's always fun to look back that I'll just be scrolling LinkedIn to, like, clients from 3, 4, 5 years ago and just see, or, get a text from a past client and still see that, like, they're still using that photo,
Yeah.
because it's still I guess in their mind, still the best photo they have of themselves,
Yeah.
which is like, yeah, very flattering.
Totally, totally. Well, it speaks to the work that you do.
I mean, we're just having fun. Yeah. I mean, love taking photos and I mean, ultimately seeing guys get into relationships. I remember the chicken wing photo, which
Yeah.
I guess you ended up
That was
using.
the main one.
And that's still to this day, we're revamping some things. We're always updating what we're shooting with trends or, as, AI is starting to do things or whatever else. Like we're always trying to keep up with that to shoot the right photos. And our dating coach and some others like, oh, like no actively like eating photos, no like food photos. I'm like, hey, I have a story, like this guy cleaned up on the dating apps and he had this the chicken wing one was the favorite, and I'm, yeah.
It really yeah, started a lot of conversations. It's a great photo.
Was it your main one? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
That
that's amazing.
that's the main one that, my now girlfriend was like, "What is this?"
Because it's such a professional photo of, something you wouldn't normally have a photo of.
I don't know. I guess the photo was somehow real life, but also, like, professional. Maybe there was a cross section there. I don't really know what I'm talking about, though. I just know it worked. I don't know why. I just know that it does.
So you got the photos back. How soon from when you got the photos to when you went live with the profiles?
I don't know, like 17 minutes?
17. Because we've seen, I mean, from past podcasts, if people listen, it's there's, like, some anxiety around it. It's like, I've gone all this way, and then it's like, "Oh, what if this doesn't work?" Or all these other thoughts, and so I'm always curious about, like, how long people wait 'cause, had guys wait, like, a week or 2 of, like, they're just like, "Oh, I gotta get everything perfect," or, "It's gotta be right," but it's like, you jumped in right away,
Certainly.
like
Oh,
you
yeah.
should.
Yeah. I was like, I don't yeah, 17 minutes or whatever it is. Yeah. I was like, "Let's put them on. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go. What's up?" And I also put it on Photo Feeler, and it was like that was also an encouraging thing to go on Photo Feeler, and I forgot if it's like a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever it was, but I felt like I think it was a significant, like 30 or 40% jump in responses. So that felt good to have that validation.
And which apps were you using right away?
Bumble. I don't know when I threw in Hinge. I feel like most of it was on Bumble, and there's like a touch on Hinge. Yeah, Bumble's probably 60%, Hinge is probably like 30 or 40%, and Tinder was 10%.
And you're swiping a little bit every day?
Yeah, it replaced Instagram for a minute, and it's just like, I'll do this instead of Instagram.
So what was it like, with the matches right away?
Like, how many matches was I getting?
Yeah, just, tell me about that, like, that new experience where you're like, "It's working.
Sure.
I think it's working."
Certainly. No, it definitely worked. I was hoping that, of course, there was the dream in the back of my brain that, like, everyone wants me or something like that, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, hold your horses. Wasn't that crazy. But I think I was getting, like, 1 to 3 matches a day or so, or maybe it was, like, a total of 15 a week or something like that. So and, of course, some were, like, not my taste or some flamed out really quickly, but, like, it was enough to feel like I could have a date a week or 2 a week.
And you did that? That was like, what was the once you started scheduling dates?
I mean, the time frame is hard because that was in April, right? April 13th. And then it was like 2 or 3 months later that it kind of was all about the now girlfriend.
Yeah,
So,
so you met her right away?
yeah. So, yeah, there was a quick period where it was like 1 or 2 dates a week based on my schedule that I could do. I think all in all, I really only met like 5 people through the apps in total in that time frame. Had a couple follow-ups and then like, you know, once you know what you find,
Yeah.
hold on to it. So,
So, yeah, I mean, clearly I already know that you have a girlfriend, you've been dating her since, which is just insane, by the way, for, like, any of the guys that are watching that have just labored over online dating for years and years, and it's like what you describe after getting the photos is like, what basically what my wife went through. She's like, "Oh, I probably should find somebody now. I'm gonna get on the apps." And 3 weeks later, she meets me, kind of thing, and not like I'm.
I was her first um, match.
Really?
Yeah. And then I didn't know it at the time. I think there's either 2 or 3 guys afterwards that she had dates with, and she likes to tell a story now about a guy. She had a date with a guy on a Saturday, and the guy wanted to keep hanging out, like, past 5 o'clock, and she, like, shut it down. And apparently he was like, Why don't you wanna, like, keep hanging out? What are you doing tonight?" "Oh, you have another date, don't you?" And she's like, I don't know if she actually answered it, but she'll tell me now that that was the truth, that she wanted to, like, wrap up a different date to go hang out with me.
Oh, man. That's a good feeling.
Well, oddly enough, like, I felt so good about our connection out the gate that I didn't really I didn't go on any other dates after connecting with her, or, like, maybe, like, wrapped up a conversation or something like that with someone else, um, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." Like, we're just rolling. We're like, there was like like right out the gate, it was like a date a week pretty much. We're texting most of the time. It's just kind of like I felt like we hit the ground running. It wasn't until later that I realized that there were other guys that she was still dating. And I think I would have like really felt the pressure if I knew that there were other people. But I felt so strong about the connection that didn't even like cross my brain that maybe there's someone else out there that's like fighting for her attention.
Oh, yeah, that's the biggest thing that it hit me, or this one gal that, I had seen maybe 3 or 4 times every, we'd go on, like, a date every 2 weeks kinda thing, and that was back in when I was feeling very, like, needy, and, I just didn't come off the right way, and then it was, like, in my head, and I think a lot of guys' heads, it's like, "Oh, she's just really busy," and I'm, like, thinking of what she might be doing, and then it's kinda this realization, it's like, "Oh, I'm just, like, one of 5 guys that she's seeing, every week, possibly more," it's like the ability, both men and women have their different struggles when it comes to dating, but it's just that kinda hit me where, like, whoa, like, women see, attractive women, value, high value women are able to date a lot of men. And yeah, it just kind of hit me in that moment where it's like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
I thought I was special,
Yeah. Yeah. And again, fortunately, I didn't find that out until a few months afterwards.
Okay.
But the first date was great. We went to foreign and domestic and took her on a nice dinner. Uh,
For the first date.
yeah, first date. Yeah,
Nice.
which you don't have to necessarily. It
If
worked
it
for
works,
us.
it's a good story. If not, it's an
Yeah,
expense.
it is a pretty penny to go on a fancy date for a first date, but well worth it. Well worth it. Yeah, and I don't know. It was just like we met each other outside. We immediately were like, "Yo, what's going on? How you doing? Great to see you. Great to meet you. I can't believe this is happening." Because we matched on a Monday, met on a Friday.
Oh,
So like
nice.
there was some conversation in between. So there's this weird, well, we know each other, but we don't really know each other. First time meeting, but we've been talking all day, et cetera, type of thing. We were able to talk for like 2 hours right out the gate, no problem. And it was just like, it was just, I don't know how else to say it. It just felt good. It felt safe. I think a lot of people, I wish someone told me this sooner. Sometimes in relationships, you think you want like the spark, you want that like high energy. Yeah, this is great.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight kind of
Yeah.
thing. And the more I think about it, I think I want a feeling of like safe around the person, which is how I felt the whole conversation. And it wasn't until the very end of the conversation when we were wrapping up, and I was like, oh, I gotta decide if I want to kiss her later.
So is that kind of the, like, she made you feel seen, like you were talking about, like, right away? Is that kind of what you're saying about, like, feeling safe?
Mhm.
Sure.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. There's a funny story about, she might kill me for saying this. This was her first Bumble date. And, like girls are always like, be safe on the apps. You never know what's happening, blah, 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 blah. And one of her best friends saw on Find My Friends that her location was in a graveyard. And so apparently halfway through the date, we were sitting sort of near the entrance at the hostess table.
Mhm.
And I couldn't see the hostess, but she could. And it's kind of like where she's where you're at, and the hostess is right here. Um, and so she apparently looks over one point and realizes that her best friend has shown up. It was like halfway
She
through the
knew
date.
that she was on a date?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the best friend knew that she was on a first date, saw that she was at a graveyard on Find My Friends, and so then showed up to the restaurant and got a table and like then eavesdropped on our conversation for like the second half of it. And so then like I walked her back to her car, kissed her goodbye, and then she went and sat in her car and let me drive away. And then gets out of her car and goes and joins her friends for dinner at the same restaurant. I bet the server was so confused.
Oh, man. That's amazing. Also, I don't know if you felt creepy, like it was creepy. They're listening into your date.
I didn't know.
She told you later.
Told me later. Yeah. No, I
Okay.
had no clue. Yeah. This whole time,
Just looking
she's like,
around.
there's like a secret in the back of her brain of, oh, my best friend's here. Watching my first date.
So were they a fan of you based on that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You didn't get any feedback on that?
I don't know if they said specifically if they're a fan of that moment, but in general, as far as I know, they're a big fan of me.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Still gotta go to that restaurant. Heard it's
Gotta
really
go.
good.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Great restaurant.
Do you guys go back just kind of in like a almost anniversary of meeting sort of thing?
We'd have, I thought that she was gonna really like fancy food, and I come to find out that she just wants chicken fried steak.
She likes chicken wings based on your photo. That should have been very clear, right?
Should've been really clear,
I
yeah.
don't think that photo normally works as well, but
Sure.
it,
Yeah.
it worked well for
Worked
you.
well there, yeah. Yeah, certainly.
So what was it like, after the date, you kiss her goodbye and I mean you're feeling it, right?
Oh, I probably drove like 100 miles an hour home.
Listening to John Mayer.
No, I was probably listening to some rock and roll. But yeah, I don't know exactly what I listened to, but I know I drove fast. Definitely drove very fast on the way home.
So it was like you say not love at first sight, but it's like you knew something that,
Very clear there was a connection out the gate.
yeah,
Yeah. And it wasn't like, of course, in the first like 5 or 10 minutes, there was a spark, but then there'd been like other times in life when it was like that spark kind of almost turns into this, like, oh my gosh, do they like me? Is this going well? Whereas with her, that spark faded into this, I feel like I've known you forever. And then it was that safe, I've known you forever feeling for like 2 hours until I realized that I had to walk her. That I was going to walk her to her car, and I had to make the decision of like, do I kiss her goodbye and all that kind of stuff. And then I started feeling nervous again, of course.
and you did kiss her goodbye.
Oh yeah. Yes, I did. Yes. Wait, a man never kisses and tells. No.
In this podcast,
In
he
this
does,
podcast.
if he wants to.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, like tell me about just kind of working towards, I guess our photo shoot that we did. Like things went pretty quickly after that, or how did it unfold? You're seeing a woman,
Yes.
consistently,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you stopped the apps like soon out or that night. You just paused it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of did. And then we had an official conversation, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks later.
Sure.
Yeah. About it. We were just like, are you off the apps? Yeah, I'm off the apps. Are you off the apps? Yeah, I'm off the apps.
6 to 8 weeks. Okay.
Fast?
I don't know. I mean, I think that would be my insecurity, and not that I would always, I'm not gonna ask to demand that somebody's off the apps, but it's like, I mean, I feel like with a lot of my relationships, you just jump in pretty quickly, and I'm like, I feel like I know, and I'm getting this idea that I think they know as well, so I'm like, I'm not trying to confirm too early, but yeah, I guess 6 to 6 to 8 weeks was probably with my wife is like when we were talking about like, okay, like, are we in a relationship now? Like, are we official sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I know, because it was 2 months. It was in this, I don't know if it's technically 8, 9 weeks later, but 2 months after us meeting, like I asked her to be my girlfriend. We were at dinner and then we were walking across downtown and I asked her, and then we went and had drinks and watched some live music and stuff. It was a great time.
It was pretty just like, yes, absolutely. Like, that's what we're doing. Or
Oh, she was stone cold. She didn't know what to say. No, of course. Yeah. It was great. No, it was easy. No problems.
you're nervous about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like I was too,
Right.
going into it, that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. I guess you're nervous not to, and then you're nervous also to do it. So it's like, yeah, you got to make a choice, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
So when would you say was the first time that she really like fell for you? If that's not too cheesy to use that lingo.
Oh, it's probably when I play guitar for her.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What'd you play her?
Probably some John Mayer I was trying to show off.
I'm gonna go grab my guitar. You down to play?
I'll play. I won't sing. I can.
You won't sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't sing either, but I'm always down to play. Let me go get it.
Yeah, I was obsessed with New Light at the time. I feel like I'm about to give like a big old stage concert. It's just you. So I don't know. I did something like that and sang. I sang for her. I won't sing for you.
Did she cry?
No, she just smiled a little big. Yeah, and because I knew she wanted to hear, I brought my guitar to her place, and then for whatever reason, I convinced her to go to Guitar Center, and I played something else there.
You know that you, for any musicians out there, if you can convince your lady to go to Guitar Center with you when she's probably not all that excited, then you got a good one.
You got to do the stereotypical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just did some of that
And then she proposed to you on the spot.
on the spot. She's always liked it, and I think it's nice that she liked it so much from the get-go, because then she's always encouraging me to play. Like, why
Yeah.
should you play more?
You still play a lot around her?
I feel like I go through phases. Yeah. As much as I can.
Yeah, whenever I usually play daily, at least, every other day, either piano or guitar, but just picking it up and those moments where you really get lost in it, where it's like, it's just the guitar is an extension of your person. And it's like, you're not holding an instrument. You are just like, it sounds cheesy, but one with the guitar in those rare moments that it's like, I often think like, what am I doing? Like music is the main thing that really brings me joy. I need to play it more.
Sure.
Like,
That's hard. To do something and realize, like, that makes me so happy. But does that make me money?
yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I did go to school for music and I stopped because it doesn't make any money unless you are one of the best in the world at an instrument.
Have you ever thought about being a studio musician?
No, I think it would be more. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be good enough at that. Like, I think I can write melodies and chord progressions and like jam kind of thing. But I don't know. I love playing what brings me or my wife joy. It's like, it's simple enough there. And yeah, I mean, I've had ideas for courses and things like that. And it's, great fallback when AI takes all our jobs. The player piano didn't replace pianists. So I'll always be able to teach piano if things go in that direction. And so, yeah, we did our photo shoot. Because I always wonder about that. I don't know how long you guys were dating before. I'm always like, if somebody's in love, I'm like, sure, like, hey, we can do the photos after you've been dating for a couple weeks. Like, I don't care. Like, my wife and I love taking couples photos.
Yeah.
Was she all down for it? Like, she was
She
really,
loves photos.
yeah.
Sue loves photos. Yeah, it's interesting because she's the kind of person that, like, within 24 hours of an event or something happening, she wants to go through all the photos and like relive the thing. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, I want to wait like a month or two
Yeah.
through going through it. Yeah. So she loved it. She was super excited. She wants all the photos possible. And she was really intentional. I think she came to you and said, hey, can we do something like this, that, or the other?
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time. And it was just fun to have him like go from just me to with her.
Yeah, yeah, that was a really fun session. So how long have you guys been dating now?
This will be 3 years.
Yeah. So for me, after, we're almost been married 3 years, it's like the wedding date anniversary is still it's still really exciting, but for some reason, there's still, like, the point I was at in my life, and it was September 18th. It was the day after my birthday. I flew back from Chicago. I was doing a shoot there, and, yeah, it's just like, going on another date kinda thing,
Sure.
and, yeah, it's like where I was at in my life and how it was just, like, so unexpected how well it went. That was It's still, like, my favorite time to celebrate, and that's the time we go back to Emmer and Rye in Austin, where we can celebrate, and it's more special for me because it was just, like, such a fantastic way to start, just the way that it happened, the time I was at in my life, all of the massive life changes that I went through as a result of finding somebody that I was just so in love with, and I still really like our meeting dates. Don't remember when the define the relationship date was, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. It's just always been my favorite date. But yeah, in terms of the next steps, have you guys I mean, you're clearly been dating for a while and
Yeah.
gonna get married eventually, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she moved in what year is it? 25 right now. Yeah. So she moved in 2024 Memorial Weekend,
Okay.
and it's been going great. And so
Yeah, what was it like moving in? Because I had a quite poor experience with the first time that, because Allie and I waited till we were married to move in. And, but yeah, like the time I did that beforehand, it was just, did not work very well, clearly. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's such a
I didn't know you
big
lived with someone
step.
else.
Yeah, it was it was just a rough time in life, and I was, moving to Texas, and it was just like, "Oh, come with me," and it's just that's never a great idea when you've only known somebody for a few months, That was like back in the poor decision days.
Sure.
Still make poor decisions, just less of them, I think.
Yeah. Overall, it's been great. I had a small freak out like right before it happened, and I was like, "What if I don't get any alone time?" Which she handled with grace and tact, which is always great. But yeah, I mean, it's been good. I feel like we've learned a lot about each other, and it's just like the time it takes to coordinate to see one another was just gone. I didn't realize how big of a benefit that was gonna be for us.
Mm.
Yeah, that was really cool. I owned a home for a while, and I always say that, like, I've always had a house but never had a home, and, like, she came in and just, like, made it a new environment, which has been fantastic, so
The decor or what is like, tell me some things that she did to
yeah. Oh, I mean, she can decorate, like yeah, and, like, pro tip to everyone, like, get you a girl that knows how to get good deals. You know you know? She'll come to me like, "I'm sorry, I spent, like, $5 at Goodwill, like, I probably should stop spending money at Goodwill." I'm like, "No, come on, like, no, spend all the money you want at Goodwill. Like,
Yes.
do what you gotta do." That's great. Yeah, she just has such a knack for style and making a room feel, um, inviting, representing the feelings that you wanna have, and I didn't realize how much that was gonna be a positive benefit to my life. Um, so, yeah, that's been great.
Yeah, that was huge for me. Like, I feel like I've always had an eye for, whether it's the photo side or like wall hanging art or things like that. But in terms of the decor, I'd never really thought about that too much. And I don't know if enough guys really process through how to make a space feel cozy. And it was just seeing my wife and how she thinks about spaces, or she's done a lot with graphic design and studying brands and color theory, and just like seeing her think through optimizing a space for how you want it to feel. That's, helped me a ton, and it's gotten me more interested in, you know building different furniture, or like, just like I'm always thinking through like, how does a space feel to others?
Yeah. Yeah, makes a big difference, and so back to the original question of her living, like, I think there's been some great challenges of living together. I think there's been healthy challenges, like healthy growth has occurred between the two of us. And of course, like, I think I mentioned that she's a therapist. She's like
That's
just
scary.
so scary. She can read my mind. Not actually.
But more than others.
Kind of. But instead of her going into the room and just being all like, wow, I had a bad day. Like she'll walk in the room and be like, yo, this one thing happened. I'm feeling really insecure. I'm feeling really whatever. Can we just go for a drive? And I'm like, oh, nice. Like
Articulate with her feelings.
yeah,
Yeah,
generally, like most of the time.
generally.
Yeah. Like we have our bad days, of course. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I roll in the room and I'm just like being a freaking tornado. And it takes like half the day for her to realize the Cowboys just lost. Go figure. So yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So in terms of like I keep coming back to the like feeling seen sort of thing. So you're living together now. Like what have been some of those instances where you just felt a way that you wouldn't have felt if you were just, by yourself at that cool house that you have?
The first thing that comes to mind is, and this goes to your earlier joke of like, oh no, she's a therapist. Like she's a pretty good read when I walk in the door. What's up? Just my face, my body language, she knows instantly. And just to come home and have someone that um, is wanting to get you right out the gate is a pretty magical feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you just walk through the door and she knows. Like she's like, I mean, like I said, she's not a mind reader. She's not like there's some like magic woo woo whatever that's happening like that. But just to have someone that is excited for you to be home, no matter what the state of mind that you're in, what place you just came from.
It probably helps that she can read a little bit more than some people in terms of how you're feeling and how she can help.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's even in the added benefit of that too is like not being freaked by it.
Yeah. Did you ever get freaked out initially that she just like saw you more than other people have?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that she would just, it's hard to think of a precise example, but most of the time it would be one of those. I had a stressful day at work. I came home from work and I thought I put a good face on. I thought I was like, it's going to be fine. We're going to do our thing. And I'm just like snippy. I'm just like
Mhm.
being a complete jerk, and she's able to like, not like 3 hours into the night, like 3 minutes. She can tell. She knows. She knows what's up. But that's just a byproduct of like us living together and knowing each other really well. And at first it was really intimidating of like, what are you telling me to do? Like, I don't want to change. I don't want that kind of stuff. And now it's this invitation of like, oh, she wants me to be the best me.
Yeah.
That can be scary at times to like follow that invitation, but it's very much worth it. Very much worth it.
Has she helped you process through things in a therapist-y sort of way? That's kind of a weird word that I just made up, but
Well, I think the thing is like a therapist's main job is to be like judgment free, to be really neutral, and to let like help teach the person to explore.
Mhm.
But she can take there's just more patience in relationship, because now she's involved. When it's me, like she's involved. I'm her partner. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So I would never say that she therapizes me
Yep.
per se, but she definitely has a perspective of what is it like to attune to somebody versus what is it like to just have expectations of somebody,
Mhm.
and that somebody being the partner.
I mean, I feel like if I had a therapist wife, I would take advantage.
Yeah.
Help, because I'm always trying to understand myself to
Yep.
a deeper level, and, I think that's what they help you do.
Sure. Have you spent time in therapy at all?
I haven't, no. I mean, I probably should,
Sure.
but
I think we're at a weird time now. Like if we went back to dating advice, it's not like I would say explicitly go to therapy necessarily, but I would say spending time in the dating process, like we talk about, like as you talk about, like have a coach, like try out a lot of things, have some photos, express yourself. And I think there's an internal element too of exploring your internal self. Like who are you really? What do you really like?
yeah.
Not just am I a John Mayer fan or a Dave Matthews band fan, but also well, how do I react to these scenarios? Oh, interesting. Like sometimes I get angry about that, and sometimes I get really like shut down about that. Like, what's going
Mhm.
on? And I think in that can help you become more aware of why you may be attracted to different people too.
Yeah.
and make the dating process a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And we're also at a weird time of like, I think 5, 7, 8 years ago, there was a feeling of, "Oh, you're going to therapy. What's wrong with you?"
Right.
And now we're kinda getting to this point of, "You're not going to therapy? What's wrong with you?"
It's like it was discouraged for a while, as like the the 90s kids, and I mean, definitely for older generations too. It's like, if you went to therapy, or, it's like mental illness didn't really exist, in a lot of people's minds. And now it's very welcomed. Not mental illness, I guess, but just like the idea of therapy or exploring yourself and why you act a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, while I haven't gone to therapy, I feel like the people that know me really deeply, they know that I'm always seeking to learn more about myself, and it's almost like I have a number of people in my life that I can go very deep with, that they provide a certain pie slice of therapy in their own area, and I'm like, I have no problem sharing any deep things about me, so it's like that's already a shortcut to, like,
Yeah.
what you need for therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great. I think it really helps too, just like I said a second ago, being able to have confidence dating, right? If you can do both and of, like, look your best self, have great photos, do things that are fun, express yourself the way they want, but also the internal self of understanding what's going on, then you're gonna be able to find someone that you really jive with. Look at me with all that sage wisdom.
Yeah. That's what everybody wants when they're listening.
Yeah.
Hopefully getting some wisdom from these podcasts, and
Yeah.
um yeah, it's super exciting. I'm excited for, I mean, what can you say that she'll be listening to, that's okay with her listening, in terms of, when are we photographing your wedding?
Oh, when is the wedding gonna happen? I thought you were gonna say when is the engagement gonna happen.
Or yeah, or that, or yeah, everybody's different with their, like, it's gonna happen at this time versus, like, some people it's a surprise.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we need to talk about engagement for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
And then the obvious, like, I think the wedding is a little bit of a what is the site, the venue availability that we want. I hear they book up really fast.
Yeah, they do.
Apparently so, apparently so.
Well, do you have any other advice you can deliver directly to the camera for all these guys that might be feeling similar to you?
Yeah, man, I feel like the biggest piece of advice is just take the shot. We've got one life. Why not set yourself up in an environment where you're having the most fun with someone that you love? You're feeling totally seen and totally understood by someone. Uh, Set high expectations, set high standards. That's what I would say.
Well, thanks for listening to the Match Artist podcast. Hopefully, you found some value here. Feel free to comment with any questions or things that you want to hear, because we're trying to make more valuable content for you guys so that you can go on more dates and find the one, find lasting relationships, and get married like Jake is about to do. So, thanks for watching, and we're going to go make some pizza.
Nice.